The average audience was 127.7 million. That's the largest in U.S. television history. Rick Horrow, the sports professor, now joins us. How you doing, Rick?
Hey, good. The hamster must not. Are you paying your hamsters or not? Because I kind of got a half deal here. What's
I'm not going to lie. Our intern didn't feed him last night, so we're having some issues today. And what the bigger problem is we may be getting rain. So whenever rain comes through the Valley of the Sun, I mean, everybody goes crazy. Everybody goes crazy. And a full moon.
Rain? What is that?
Yeah.
Rain? Seriously?
Yes, here in Arizona. So, hey, when you look back at this Super Bowl, other than, it was a blowout and my Eagles won, what's your biggest takeaway? On the business side of it.
Blowout is not a negative in this one. Blowout is a celebration of what might be the best organization and the best defense, maybe the best defensive half performance in the history of the Super Bowl. I don't care about the Bears in '86. I don't care about the Ravens. This was a complete thumping, and it had to do with the fact that it was such a mismatch on the line, and it had to do with the fact that they were able to pay wide receivers, a quarterback, superstars, Barkley, and keep an offensive line intact, which the Dolphins have failed to do since the beginning of time. So Howie Roseman needs to be the executive of sports in the stratosphere. That's on the field. Off the field, the idea of making sure that this was a seamless, safe Super Bowl 6 weeks after the horrific Super Bowl or Sugar Bowl morning massacre. And because this is the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans and these guys know what they're doing, will continue to, it went off without a hitch. So lucky we had the game in a city that knew what they were doing.
And you talk about Howie Roseman. I mean, look at the Chip Kelly era. He was, let go. Now he's back with this team. Talk about him, and you mentioned the numbers keeping the team intact and what he has to do and what he's done on a consistent basis with this Eagles team.
That was a really good question. So that obviously was not Rock or Manooch, right?
It's Manooch. Yes, moi. That's right.
That was Manooch?
Yeah.
Like Jimmy V.
Dang, Skippy.
Sounded older.
Yeah, he throws a completion once in a while.
Yeah, mixing a completion once in a while. Thank you, Rock.
That was a completion, a screen pass. Not don't get carried away.
Take it dunk.
But it was a completion. So
I'll take
it. I know Howie Roseman well because I was doing the stadium stuff when he was, let's say, banished. But he wasn't banished because his ego didn't allow him to feel that way. And when Chip Kelly was saying that he was the superstar that saved football, Howie quietly was in the corner amassing information. And then when Jeff Lurie, the academic and the good manager, returned to him and said, you want the shot, not only did he get the shot, but he rose to what he is today. So, I remember those days where he was polite and gracious and marginalized by a guy who shouldn't marginalize anybody.
All right, Rick, here we go. As soon as I come on, dog starts barking in the background.
Duke?
That's perfect.
Yeah, well, no, Duke is I let him be the my censor. I turned him on to being the anti-Manooch, but it's not a question later than that. So there we go.
That's fine.
He loves me, man.
Yeah. So my question is, who's going to pay Aaron Rodgers now that he is on the market? Is he going to get a deal from another team similar to what the Steelers had cut with Russell Wilson and Seattle paying his contract?
Well, let me ask you this: Would you pay that man a lot of money? I wouldn't.
No.
I don't know who will. I don't know what team is desperate for a controversial situation with only the hint of an upside. Steelers, no. Saints, probably not. You can think of a handful of teams, and I think he would be a very good coach / backup, but his ego is not going to allow that.
Okay.
So to that point, is he still at not the marketability was with the Packers when he first got to the Jets? From the marketability side and the market out there, I agree with you. I wouldn't pay the kind of money he's getting. Does he still have that brand about him, or has that suffered as well too?
Well, the brand is I guess today's 1 for 2. Robert Kennedy approved as the new Health and Human Services Secretary, and then the other anti-vaccine guy is cut by the Jets. So maybe we're batting 500. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, his image has been beyond football, and therefore I'm not sure that that helped him in the last couple of years. I'm not sure. I want a guy who is you're not sure about his performance. He is an amazing, experienced guy. He can read defenses. His arm is tremendous, but he's old, and so I don't know any scuttlebutt about the Cardinals picking him up as a backup to your number one.
Maybe. Doubt it.
Highly doubt it.
He's Rick Horrow, who joins us here on ESPN Phoenix 620. All right, I want to get your thoughts on this. If you've seen this so far, this blackout that may happen for March Madness and the Masters, as there's a dispute between the CBS parent company Paramount and Google-owned YouTube TV. I know a lot of people have that streaming service. Do you think this will get settled before March Madness?
Yeah, the good thing about that is we have a while to get it settled. The problem with these kind of disputes is they usually wait till the last minute, and it does get resolved that way. And we have more than the last minute here. So there is much more at stake than even any other kind of normal event. So I would predict it does get resolved, but not for a few weeks.
And speaking of events that'll be going on this weekend, the All-Star Game in San Fran, how much do you think Adam Silver's will be paying attention to how much viewing is for this All-Star Game? And with him talking about the woes, will this be a tall tale sign, folks, for an All-Star Game if they don't tune in as much as they have in the years past?
There's not a lot of sizzle here, and I'm not sure that the hype can be fixed short in the NBA, and still the 190 to 188 games are not basketball. But then
about 2 more minutes.
The NFL is not flag football, but they put together some really kind of entertaining Pro Bowl concepts. Still, the ratings weren't great, but the ratings, even for a fake football game, are really good. Basketball, not so sure. But you're getting into a new TV cycle, and there are going to be some new sheriffs in town. So let's see what happens.
So the national viewership numbers are down about 5% compared to last year in the NBA. Do you think that all these trades that went down, LeBron and Luka playing together, could impact that and maybe get that number going up?
Well, look, I was in Dallas before I was in New Orleans, and I was lucky enough to run into Anthony Davis when he was kind of getting out of his car at the Crescent Hotel, ready for his exam and his press conference.
What were you doing? You doing valet? What were you doing out there?
I was his ball boy. His stuff. Now he's hurt. But I will say that in Dallas, they had a candlelight vigil, and they've had flowers on the side of the road. Mavericks, rest in peace. So some people are excited about it. I know that the Lakers have a second life, and therefore the NBA. But it's sure doesn't look equitable, and maybe that's what we need. We need a whole bunch of people talking about all this, and at the end of the day, maybe that's the buzz.
Rick Horrell's our guest on the Right Toyota guest line. Okay, so all the conversation now that I have seen on the web, and we all know it's always correct, is that ESPN already did this. They pulled the college basketball game off the air and put it on ESPN News so they could show Luka Doncic and his first game with the Lakers. It did over 2 million people, and the game tipped at 10:30 at night on the East Coast. So now this weekend, you're going to have Arizona, Houston at 1 o'clock our time. And then at 3 o'clock our time, it is Auburn and Alabama, the teams that are 1 and 2. You know as well as I do, Rick, the games will not go just 2 hours. What the hell is ESPN doing? Why can't they fix that?
they're packing them in, and then the last 2 minutes will delay the tip-off for the next one, and you bring viewers in that might only have watched the first one to watch the second one. So, that in and of itself isn't the issue. They're experimenting with a lot of college basketball. I know the Tomorrow Golf League, which we're not talking about anymore because the novelty's worn off, that was going to be something that was an alternative to Tuesday night basketball for a couple of hours. So that was shoehorned into.
Clear to toss whenever.
I'm afraid a lot of people are thinking of it as a passing fancy. Remember the first set of questions you asked me that first week. Now nobody doesn't care.
Right.
Nobody cares. But
Nope.
Maybe the answer is that we're all fickle, and the programming executives need to be kind of one step ahead of where everything is, so they can stay up with the viewership habits.
So spring training is just around the corner. So we're going to see you out here in Phoenix.
Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm going to Tampa.
Okay.
And I'm going to do some of that. But I've got some speaking starting next Friday in Christchurch, Wellington, and Auckland. I'm going to go do some speaking and maybe a little bit of golf and watch the Tall Blacks, which is the female FIBA New Zealand basketball team, and cover it. So for the IRS people that may now be listening to everything that's being done, I'm covering it. The golf is just a means to an end, but I'm covering it. Let me explain it again. I'm covering it.
And the good thing is now that the new laws now, you don't have to declare your tips. So when you're working valet, you can just pocket all that money.
And I don't have to declare the gratuities off the parking passes. You got
Yeah,
so it's not a problem.
Thank you, Rick. Have a great week, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right, I'll see you next week.
You got it. That's Rick Horrow joining us, the sports professor. You can follow him on X at Rick Horrow. All right, coming up, we need a contestant to challenge one of the beautiful girls here at Twin Peaks. It's Maddie today at the Scottsdale location. We call it Peaks Picks, and we'll take the fifth caller at 602-230-0620. That's 602-230-0620, and you'll get yourself a $25 gift card. Now, we're going to do college basketball today. We'll do the two that were just mentioned, Houston at Arizona. TCU is here playing Arizona State on Saturday night, and then Auburn and Alabama, 1 versus 2. We'll need the score of that one. So 602-230-0620